What's up, guys? So in this video I wanted to talk about just basically some thoughts I had over this week about purpose, relationships, achieving your potential, as well as like maybe gym and stuff like that. Everything kind of rolling through my head this week. I feel like a lot of us want a relationship but also want a purpose to focus on, but it's very easy to lose yourself in a relationship. It's hard to build yourself up and be in a relationship at the same time. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot. And then I've also been thinking about superficiality of especially the modern world and social media, and how social media has kind of turned everything into superficiality and everything's just about numbers. And like, I feel like love almost ceases to exist when everything's just about superficial numbers or superficial traits that don't actually matter. And I feel like where a lot of problems stem from in this current state we live in with this modern world and social media. It's just like everything is about having a certain thing before you can have certain thing. Like, I think when it comes to like building a real loving relationship, for example, yes, some things matter like personality and looks, which I think that's fine, like that makes sense, it's pretty basic. But then when you start taking like superficial things, small things into account, that's when it gets kind of weird. And I've been thinking about this a lot as of late, like superficiality, standards, your purpose, self-improvement in a relationship, the problems of a relationship, and just also it's not even about not being able to build yourself in a relationship. It's just that you have to have the right person if you're going to be able to do that, because the right person is going to be able to support you. They understand what you need to do, they understand the sacrifice you need to make, they understand that you need to sacrifice a certain level of comfort maybe, or to spend a certain amount of money on something to go after your purpose. Like, that kind of a person you need, especially if you're a man on your purpose and you're trying to achieve something big, the type of woman you need needs to understand every facet of life and needs to be almost in the same mindset in some sense as you, if you're gonna do like a relationship while you're trying to achieve your purpose, in a sense. I feel like there's obviously a lot of problems in modern dating. It doesn't really matter where you live. Modern dating is problematic. People struggle with a lot of things in dating. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. But I also think the problem is also men not being men and women not being women and all that. But I feel like superficiality is such a big thing on my mind. Is this superficiality we have is like, I'm not even talking purely about like looks of superficiality. I think looks superficiality is like normal. That's basic human nature. It's like, yeah, everybody cares about looks and personality pretty much and all that. But like we're talking outside of this, like I'm talking about like money, clout, some kind of numbers that people care about, these superficial things, or these kind of things that don't really actually contribute to a real relationship too much. Like, yes, money does matter, but a money man does not inherently make a good man for a relationship. Like, you could have all the money, but if you don't have any skills built up or like mindset built up for a relationship, you're not going to be able to succeed in that relationship anyway. Like, let's say if you gave me $2 million at 18 years old, when I had zero knowledge about anything regarding relationships or anything. If you gave me that money, let's say I would be extremely handsome and have 2 million. But if I didn't have the mindset then if I had the same mindset as I had back in then, when I was 18, I would have failed in a relationship just because I would have totally basically done everything wrong. So that's the kind of superficiality that bothers me. And it's almost like, it's also this superficiality of, let's say I do achieve, I have everything, I have the mindset, looks, money, and then I go out and try to find somebody. What happens then is, I feel like I feel like you almost kind of feel like you're being used, compared to if you had found that person before you had all those, like maybe you just had looks and personality and potential. If you find somebody then it feels less superficial in a sense, because that person is actually almost like, maybe in a sense betting on you, or like wants to support you. That's like less superficial than if you went to somebody who's just rich and has everything already, basically who's at the finish line. I feel like the relationship becomes very superficial at that point, especially if you pick a woman that happens to be superficial and care about those things a lot, like how much money you have, etc. Now, I'm not saying those things don't matter. Definitely money matters for like building a family and being if you want to provide for a family and all that, but there's a sense of superficiality, especially when you're like if you reach the finish line and you're trying to find somebody. It becomes very difficult at that point, because it's very hard to trust people when you make it, compared to when you're trying to make it and you find somebody. You're more likely going to be able to trust that person, because it's easier to find friends and lovers at the bottom, in a sense, than at the top. You know, like you can more likely find people that are still, like in your opinion, good looking with a good personality, at the bottom, that are going to support you, compared to, yes, you might be able to find even more better looking people at the top, but are those people really going to be like good people in a family scenario? So it's a very difficult situation to find yourself in a sense. Almost like the more successful you become, the more you will suffer from that success. It's kind of true maybe in some regards to looks, even like when you become extremely good looking, you almost start suffering from success, because you have too much and you just can't pick one, and you feel like nothing is ever good. It's like that kind of suffering from success. I mean, it's still better than suffering from lack, but it's like it's still suffering in a sense. But these were kind of like thoughts I had this week, and just kind of like self-improvement and relationships and superficiality. And I feel like this also relates to people coming back into your life. Like when people are coming back into your life after like a half a year or whatever, like people want to come back into your life. Like let's say a woman wants to come back into your life 6 months after you were done with her, and then she comes back. You know how that feels, right? Do you know how that feels, like when somebody comes back into your life when you're now that you're doing better? You know how that feels? It's like, it's almost like it feels really superficial, and you don't know if you could really trust that person. So it's just like, or worse yet, when they come back like years later, like that's even worse. Like, you know, I've heard stories of people 15, 20 years that they used to know coming back. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's the type of superficiality I'm kind of talking about. It's like, how would you ever be able to do anything with that person if they leave you and come back? And it's kind of the same thing with the whole, like, you know, as soon as you're doing a little bit better success-wise, everybody's flocking to you. As soon as you're not, then everybody kind of like fades away. It's like, that's kind of like a really obvious superficiality that like you're detecting. Like if they actually liked you for you, you know, in the sense of like, let's say you're good looking and you have a good personality, they like you for what you are bringing, in a sense, what you are as a person, compared to just how much money you have or how much clout you have or whatever else. I'm not saying those things can't matter or increase attraction, but attraction shouldn't entirely be based on just those couple of things, like money and clout and whatever. Obviously, everybody prioritizes different things when they're looking for people, but I feel like if we're talking about like a good relationship, you can't base it on money and clout and superficial things that are not you inherently. They're just extensions of you, maybe, in a sense, or extensions of your achievements. And I feel like it's not really a basis for a healthy relationship. At the end of the day, if you want to grow, a relationship is about growth together and everything. So yeah, this was kind of a ramble video. I think I'm gonna end it on this note. I just kind of wanted to put all these thoughts out about superficiality, relationships, self-improvement, and everything at once. I feel like this was kind of a little bit of a, no, I would say a confusing video. I kind of had a certain idea I was going for. But yeah, just something I've been thinking a lot. And it's just kind of tough of a situation I find myself thinking about. But thank you for watching. If there's a will, there's a way.